Hey, what's up? It's your boy BobbySapphire, and today we're going to look at what has become unequivocally the best color in Star Wars Unlimited. Let's check it out. All right, we're only about 75 cards left to spoil in Shadows of the Galaxy, but one color has risen above all the rest with some of the crazy spoilers we've seen in the last 2 weeks. Which color is it? It's very obviously yellow. Now, I know people will disagree. People have their pet colors. People love their colors. People love the stuff they love. I play a lot of games. I test a lot of decks. And every time I test something that doesn't have yellow in it, I just feel like I don't have a lot of play. I took a non-yellow deck to a store showdown, didn't do well, read the meta wrong, thought it would be all control. It wasn't. Played aggro and couldn't play my way out of situations in the mid game. My goal was to push damage, and when I couldn't do that, I didn't have a secondary plan. Yellow gives us that secondary plan, and I think it does it the best. Not only because we've had the best leader in the game, not only because we've had the best 3-drop in the game, the best ships in the game, the best monocolored modal event in the game, the best bounce cards in the game, the best pump in the game, the best 5-drop units in the game, the best discard package in the game, the best tappers in the game, the best the best early game shielded units in the game. We are already, at least arguably, the best color when we're playing yellow. I think like green, when I first started playing Star Wars Unlimited, green felt like the strongest, mainly on the back of ECL, Overwhelming Barrage, Darth Vader, things like that. But as I played more and more, what I feel like gives me the most play, the most room to maneuver my opponents, it's yellow. And with the releases of Shadows of the Galaxy, that's only getting more profound and more effective in my playtesting. And honestly, we're seeing that most in the continued dominance of the yellow Boba deck. Even just yesterday, I'm recording this on Father's Day. Shout out all the dads out there. 6 people in the KTOD Discord won store showdowns with mono yellow. Another one in the public Discord. Like this deck just continues to win. Look, it's not an auto win against every deck in the field, but it beats a lot of them. And if any deck stumbles, this deck generally doesn't because of the way it's constructed, low to the ground, a lot of aggro. So even when people are bringing things like Krennic to try and beat it, we can get out of it with things like Spark of the Rebellion, Bodhi Rook, things that Cunning discard their hand. If you can make them stumble and you don't, that's the name of the game, and that's what yellow gives us. And what I want to do today is look at all the tools that Shadows of the Galaxy is giving yellow to do these kinds of things in hero, in villain, and in mono, and then with whatever other color that you think is almost as good as yellow. All right, so we're going to start with hero and just look at some of the strong cards yellow has gotten from Shadows. Already 2 really, really strong hero leaders. I know people are pretty low on Lando, but let me just say I test a lot of Lando, and when you can play a turn 3 Millennium Falcon or Zori Bliss on the flip turn, it's really, really strong. He's certainly a card that you're not going to utilize his game text before he flips. Because you want to make sure you get to your 4 resources. Although, there have been games where I don't do that. But once he does come out and you can play a very low to the ground 4 cost or less deck, he can push damage really fast. And also on the back of Hotshot Blaster, which I know says it's red. Like the outline is red. On the spreadsheet, it's red. But this is a yellow card. We get a free extra yellow card this set just because of the way Smuggle works, and we only have to spot yellow for its Smuggle cost. Hotshot Blaster are going to be one of the best cards in the game for a long time to come. This deck can get really low to the ground. It's because it cheats cards out at a cheaper rate. It does something that no other deck in the game can do, no other leader can do. And it lets us play a 6-cost 5/5 on the 3rd turn of the game via Smuggle. And when you slap that down on the table after attacking with your 2-drop, your 3-drop, and Lando, your opponent's on the back foot almost always. I also want to shout out the Mandalorian, who is the starter deck leader. And my brother has been testing a really nasty blue-yellow Mando deck. And I didn't want to include, like, a lot of the upgrades that go in that deck aren't yellow, so I wasn't including the slideshow. But, like, we get the Hotshot Blaster. You get Grogu. Grogu is insane at getting to the late game and getting you to that point in the game where you can drop the Mando unit and really buff him up. I've been really impressed with Grogu. But, like, these are just some amazing hero yellow cards. I know like Hotshot isn't heroic, but I wanted to include it because of its interaction with both Mando and Lando, and just because it's going to be just such a widespread card in the meta. So already we've got 2 hero leaders that are really, really good in the upcoming meta, and they do broken things. The tapping on the Mandalorian is insane. All you have to do, like, it's so easy to construct the deck to take advantage of that and abuse that. And you don't have to tap every guy. You just have to tap the guys that are going to affect you the most. And because this thing can exhaust with Grogu and exhaust with the Mandalorian, you actually can just push past them and win the game pretty easily. The deck is really frustrating to play against. I'm sure my brother will make a video about it eventually. And of course, we don't have to just focus on heroic or villain. We just got a bunch of cunning cards that can go on either side and in any other color deck. These cards are some of the most bonkers cards that have come out in the set. Emphas Nest has been a really insane 6-drop ambush that when she attacks, she gives, like, well, when anyone with ambush attacks and she's on the table, so like including this one, they get debuffed, they get disarmed a little bit, so she can stick around longer, and she sort of turns that on for the rest of your deck. The swoop down, being able to give basically any ship the strafing gunship ability is really, really strong. Plus, it buffs itself, so it can actually like swing up and trade up. Cloud Rider, I think, is going to be a staple in aggro decks and in control decks for the next few sets. It's just it's so nuts. I haven't tried Unrefusable Offer yet, but I know some people who have and really like it. I will say, like, if we're looking at yellow, as we're thinking about the word cunning, like, we're seeing that yellow does the most busted stuff, and being able to play your opponent's cards, even if we only get it for one turn, is stupid, because there's so many different ways to capture, and because there's so many different ways to capture or kill something, we can play this on something with really, really high cost, like something backbreaking, like a Snoke or a Maul, and essentially take over the game with our opponent's unit. It lets us play their game when they don't want us to play their game. Fugitive Wookiee is one of 2 3/3/2 drops that we got for yellow that, like, obviously has an extreme drawback, but if you're playing aggressively, you can often make sure that that sort of effect doesn't hurt you. You can either attack with the unit that isn't the Wookiee Fugitive, or you could trade the Wookiee Fugitive. You might not want to trade the Wookiee Fugitive, but you can maneuver which units get tapped by putting the pressure on with your other units, and then it doesn't behoove your opponent to kill the Wookiee Fugitive if it's not tapping something down. So you can kind of get into this situation where you're still getting all the damage that you wanted in, and when they do kill the Wookiee Fugitive, you didn't maybe attack with it that turn, but they took the kill on something that they didn't want to kill and didn't get an effect. Fennec Shan, who knows how busted she could be. She's an ambush unit that we've talked about before, but can deal damage right when she comes in. If you haven't played any games with McClunky and Madame Proxima and seen the kind of damage that deck can spill out, I double dare you to, because it's really good. And then I think Relentless Pursuit might be the most cracked common in the set. You get to capture anything that costs, like, based on cost. So you can just, like, drop your leader and capture something. And if it's a bounty hunter like Boba Fett or Cad Bane, they get a shield. Like, how many times we had to deal with Boba Fett with unshielded and hated our lives, and now we get to do it with a shield. So I think these cards are totally pushed, and when we think about all the cards that we already had in yellow, it's just getting out of hand. My mono yellow fans, shout out to the yellow guys and gals and humans. So they've only released a couple of the double aspect events or whatever cards that they're going to put out. 2 of them are yellow, so obviously we get in the advantage that there are 2 that we have. There's only 1 green release. There's only 1 blue release. There's no red ones released. But, like, compare these. You want an end game, like, win the game on this turn? Do you want to play 14 for Endless Legions, or do you want to, like, untap all your guys for 6? Like, the comparison on these legendaries is nuts. And, like, Midnight Repairs. Oh, so, like, we got a 2-cost. Sweet, double aspect. It must do something really busted. Heal up to 8 total damage from any of our units. We know from trying to play things like Chirrut and Kira that it can be really difficult, even with Kira, to keep damaged units out. People smell blood, and they're able to make easier trades. So, like, yeah, the healing 8 from any number of total units is fine, but, like, how much damage do you have out? It's usually not a lot. How many times would you like to pay 2 to replay your fire spray to attack with it again? Like, These cards are not comparable. What if our leader untapped 2 resources for us so we could just swing with that fire spray twice the turn it came out, the turn we played it? It's nuts. Um, and that's before we even think about New Adventure's utility or utilitousness when we look at all the interplay abilities that are coming in this set and all the ones that we had in the previous set. Like, these cards are so pushed already. It doesn't even matter what the other ones were. Like, it doesn't even matter that they haven't released all the other ones yet. Like, I don't think we're going to find 2 better than this in any color. I mean, I'm happy to be proven wrong, but these cards are like legitimate considerations right out the gate, where these other 2 cards are essentially coasters. So I don't know that we'll ever play Final Showdown, but I do know the effect is pretty busted for its cost. I do know that we'll be playing a New Adventure for sure. All right, before I get to some of the more busted villain cunning cards in the second set, I want to talk about just like the build around cards that they gave us so far. These cards, as is, might not be busted contextually over the whole set, but these 3 cards are cards that like we'll be able to build around and consider building around for the next several sets. Triple Dark Raid, I've already seen it be really, really good in yellow-red Boba Fett and even red-yellow Kylo. So being able to put this into a vehicle deck and play things like Ruthless Raiders out of your deck and then get it back in your hand to play it again, this is a pretty insane way to close out the game if you didn't even just close it off of the 6 damage that you're getting on that triple Dark Raid turn. Dryden Voss is a card that I have my eye on, but I want to see... It's like a card that you just need to see the whole set, because we got to see how much capture that we actually can play. But this is an insane drop. When played, choose a captured card guarded by a unit you control. You may play it for free under your control. That's that bounty card we just talked about, only on a permanent scale. And this is when played, so you don't have, like, that shielded is great, but like you don't have to keep them alive. In fact, if you draw another one, you can do it again. So most of the time, these bounty strategies, they don't like behoove you to build around it, because you can really water your deck down with useless cards. But like I don't even care if Dryden hasn't attacked that turn. I will happily drop a Dryden to a second Dryden to play another one of my opponent's cards. It's going to be better than whatever the 5/7 shielded I got is, just because of the way that we already have it out. We're taking one of our opponent's cards and now playing it for ourselves. So it's just like tempo value. And then I've seen a lot of people crap on Dr. Aphra this week, which is like completely insane to me, because it's one of those I feel like I'm taking crazy pills moments. I think Dr. Aphra has the potential to be completely busted. How many 5/5/5 drop leaders do you have? Spoiler, it's not any. And she gets a card back from our discard pile when she flips. This is one of the first leaders. Not one of the first, because like Iden's like this too, Invaders like this sometimes. But like, our goal isn't going to be to flip her on 5. Like, if we want to flip someone on 5 and take over the game, we play Boba Fett. Like, very obviously, that's what we do. And like, maybe to a secondary degree, Cad Bane. I don't think Cad Bane's as good as Boba, but certainly similar. This is a control card. It's a combo card. We would flip her when our combo is ready to go off. Or one thing I really do like about her is that against aggro decks, you can just like pick 3 removal cards that you used, or 3 cards that are going to get you back in the game. I'm thinking of things like Make an Opening, Fell the Dragon Takedown, Power the Dark Side, Cloud Rider, right? Like, imagine that's our discard pile because we're playing against aggro. We flip her, we get one of those cards back, we get to play it again, especially if we pick something cheap like the Cloud Rider. And then, she's, because of her ability, she can be very easily +3/+0 in a lot of these situations. The discard from the top of the deck thing, like, I'm not going to go into it in this video because I want to see what else has come out, but like, I'm already thinking about the broken things I can do by having the deck that I choose, based on some of the cards that we have. I don't know that they'll ever make enough cards for Aphra to be a meta staple or broken, but I do know that if we can construct, if there's a meta that isn't insanely fast that she can't keep up with, that there's going to be a late game, like Aphra control deck that combos out late game that no deck will be able to stop. So that's because of the tools that you have in yellow, and specifically probably yellow-blue. So I'd keep my eye on Dr. Aphra. I think she's nuts. All right, now let's get to the juice. We got so many insane yellow villain cards so far. Cad Bane is just a bonkers leader. Oh, Cad Bane comes up for 6. Sorry, I said on 5 on the previous slide. Cad Bane damaging our opponent's units, setting up bounties. Like Boba Fett, he has a triggered ability. So few leaders have a triggered ability. When you play an Underworld card, exhaust it, choose an opponent, they get to deal damage to their units. We're going to talk a little bit more about Bazine on the next slide, but we got Dr. Avazin, the second 2-drop 3/3. He's got a huge drawback. I don't know if he'll be a staple, but there's no doubt about it that like I kind of see him as a sideboard card because like if it's the right matchup, the kind of matchup that can't deal with shields, like a blue, like a green, like I guess green yellow deck. I guess Capture could do it, but actually let's just start that over. When there is a deck that can't deal with him or can't deal with shields, like that's exactly when we want to bring it in, or where he's going to push. And, there are things like McClunky that let us return him to our hand if we're feeling like we might get blown out by the 12 resource bounty. Xanadu Blood, pretty insane with Cad Bane. I don't know if it's necessarily better than the Fire Spray. Like, I wouldn't necessarily play this in Boba Fett or anything, but if we're playing Cad, I could see this being much, much better. I mean, it fits that whole McClunky theme. It fits the Cad Bane pinging theme. Like, try this with McClunky and Lady Proxima and Cad Bane, and you're doing a ton of secondary control while you're aggroing out. And then finally, and this is what really pushed me over the edge to make this video, is Forlom and Zuckuss. First of all, Forlom solves a huge problem in that 4-drops basically didn't exist in the first set. There were some really good ones, but most decks didn't have them. And like it wasn't till I started playing Gamorrean Guards that we were able to actually like play a 4-drop in Boba Fett that felt like it was doing anything. But give me a 4/4 ambush that buffs an insane unit. 5 cost 6/6 with Saboteur, possibly a 7/7, possibly with ambush. At uncommon, we just got a legendary 5-drop 6/6 for Heroic Red, and they're giving this to us in uncommon. So not only are we able to build a more busted deck, but we're able to do it on a budget. I don't know how often we'll be able to have Forlom and Zuckuss out at the same time. I think that it'll probably require some testing, more testing than I've done so far, but initial reports are that it's still pretty nuts. If we think about the Boba flip turn and how we construct that, we might use a Waylay or a Relentless Pursuit to remove a unit and get our first resource untapped. And then we flip Boba, we attack, we get back to 5. We don't necessarily have to have an ambush or a bounce play. We could just drop a 6/6 on the table and be like, deal with this giant 6/6 after we've taken over the whole game. So I really wonder where Zuckuss slots in. I think like in a mono Boba deck, it's really hard to cut the Bosks and the Bouncers because you need to be able to make sure you kill something. But in a green Boba deck that like has other ways to like when you can ramp into the 5 resource turn and you don't need to work so hard to kill something, I think just like dropping Zuckuss on the table and being like, do you have anything for this? I mean, I've seen that already in playing Sabine Green on the heroic side, and just like I don't have to ambush Poe. I can just drop it as a 6/6 because I know my opponent really can't deal with it. And if they do, I've still got like 3 or 4 other units about to destroy them. So I think these cards are absolutely busted, and it's what pushed me over the edge to make this video, even though I had already had some inkling that yellow was the best color for a while. All right, I've seen a lot of crazy talk about Bazine Natal lately, and I just want to say that like whatever you guys smoke on nights and weekends, I would like you to DM me and tell me, because some of the takes I've seen about set 2 are absolutely trash. And if you think Bazine Natal is bad, you are nuts. You have to re-examine your card evaluation strategies. Yes, her 1 power is not great. Her ability to lock down a turn and time walk your opponent for 2 resources, or if you've got nothing to do later, or it's really important for you to look at your opponent's hand for 4 resources out of your resource row, like, I don't know what to tell you. Let's think about Bazine Natal on the play against aggro, like a green Sabine. This is, I did a sample hand and did a mulligan. And, like, your opponent mulligans. Now you're thinking, okay, they probably don't have the most busted hand in the world. They didn't keep, so, like, the odds are at least a little lower. What's our opponent resourcing here? Definitely a Steadfast Battalion. But are they going to keep the R2? Or are they going to keep one of the 2 3-drops, 1 ground, 1 air, because they want to lane dodge or see where you don't go or see where there need to not be? Also, the Fighters for Freedom really insane against us if we're playing like a yellow villain deck because of all the shielded units. Like Fighters for Freedom just absolutely obliterates Dr. Avaz and lets us play both Red 3 and Fighters for Freedom. So they're probably getting rid of the R2. That's what I would do if I was playing against a yellow villain deck in set 2. even if they do play R2 instead of the battlefield Marine we're going to take, like that's fine. That's a lot less damage that we have to contend with, and R2 has to work a lot harder to kill any of our units, including Bazine. So like already, this card seems insane anytime we have it on the play. And then think about versus like a green boba deck or any ramp deck, right? They're probably I just did my green boba deck, but like oftentimes I'm picking either resupply or super laser tech. I'm not going to keep both. But okay, so I put one of them down, and maybe I put down I don't know, the Gamma Guards, maybe the Overwhelming Barrage. Probably not, but we'd have to make a decision. I'm probably not getting rid of the recruit. So all of a sudden you've taken away their ramp, and all they did was have a cartel spacer or a recruit on turn one, and you're able to stay on their playing field throughout the game because they didn't jump resources on you. And then you could also do it late game against control. Like think about a control hand that's got Power of the Dark Side, Vigilance, and Darth Vader. You just played Bazine, so like you don't care about Power of the Dark Side. You can just get rid of your 1/3. That's great. But you can absolutely flip that Vigilance off. That's maybe it's turn 6, and that's the only thing that they can play this turn. Now you've taken away any effective play. You've prevented them from healing 3. And they can draw into something, but like of all the cards that you would not want your control deck to have on like 6 resources the turn that we're trying to kill them is Vigilance. And then something like Power of the Dark Side, like I said, we're inoculated against that because we just played a cheap unit, and then we'll just kill them before they play their Darth Vader. So I don't know. I think Bazine is nuts, and I understand like having to reconcile with her body, but as a 2 of, even possibly a 3 of, especially in like a Cad Bane deck or a McClunky deck where you're trying to really play Underworld cards come into play effects or New Adventure. She's just nuts. And yeah, like your opponent could draw something, but the chances are they're not. Like the odds are ever in your favor. All right. Even though I tell my friends, if I ever play a non-yellow deck, please punch me in the face. I do want to shout out some of the amazing cards in the other colors for this set. Actually, blue feels really bad. I didn't think that there were any blue bombs. Maybe I missed something. I think like Gar Saxon's really good. But when I was just looking through like the non-leader cards, I was like, oh, I don't know. I mean, Conquer Dawn Interceptors is really, really busted, and so is Follow the Dragon. But like, look at red. Punishing One, Poe Dameron, and Wrecker. Like, these might be the 3 best red cards in the game, and they're coming out in this next set. Maul is absolutely busted. So is Timely Intervention. I love that Timely Intervention is a 1-cost event, and we just got it on a stick in things like Emphas Nest and Forlom. Like that's a comparison that I wanted to point out, that like green has to work really hard to get this effect, and they're giving it to us on bodies. Oh, we get a whole leader that gives everyone ambush. So like whatever. Yellow just does all these trick things better, and like they throw a bone to the other colors. Darksaber is pretty insane. +4/+3 on Sabine. It's gonna kill you real quick. And then of course somehow Palpatine is returned. Nothing like playing Snoke for 6 out of your discard pile to wrath your opponent's board. So there are really good cards. It's not just yellow. I just think yellow has gotten the most, and every time yellow spoilers come out, I'm like, oh my god, these cards are like legitimately good. We have to make decisions about what we're going to put in like Boba Fett decks, and when these cards come out, it's like, okay, Maul, now I might not want to play Vader, or I could just like play a few more 7-drops that are busted. Poe and Wrecker, oh, this changes the way we play Sabine. Like we can build around these. So like these cards are really good, but yellow just has like there just aren't too many bad yellow cards. They've all been good or pretty good. So maybe you think I'm right. Shout it out in the comments. Maybe you think I'm wrong. Let me know what you think the best color is. I'll give it a like. We'll see what you have to say. All right. Thanks for checking out the video, and I'll see you in set 2. GG's.